We're now in July, which means that 1, half of 2023 has already gone by, which is crazy, and 2, the iPhone 15's launch is only 2 months away, which is probably even crazier. So here are 7 of the most recent iPhone 15 updates that truly make it one of the most unique iPhone upgrades yet. Speaking of unique upgrades, these open-fit earphones from our sponsor Shokz are one of the most unique ones that I've ever seen, as they don't go in your ear, but rather over your ear. And the first thing that I noticed when I wore them was just how comfortable and secure they were. Their sporty look is part of their open ear design, to keep you engaged in your environment and conversations, while also providing you with great sound. Check them out using the link below and also find out more about them later in the video. And now, back to the video. The first new iPhone 15 leak is in terms of wireless charging. Currently, if you have an iPhone 12 or newer, you can use 2 types of wireless charging. The traditional Qi charging, which goes up to 7.5 watts, and can be used with any wireless charger, and then MagSafe, for which you do need a MagSafe puck or a MagSafe accessory, and this enables faster wireless charging of up to 15 watts. But according to Charger Lab, they run an amazing YouTube channel, by the way, that I highly recommend watching, as well as a website. They now have some info that the iPhone 15s will be supporting the Qi 2 standard. What this means is that the iPhone 15s will be supporting faster wireless charging speeds of up to 15 watts, even if you are not using a MagSafe charger. And this is pretty awesome, as if you already have a fast wireless charger for an Android device, which are usually something like 10 or 12 watts, those can now charge your iPhone faster. And of course that if you simply wish to buy a 15-watt wireless charger, you'll now be able to get one much cheaper than what Apple's MagSafe accessories used to cost you, which, yes, they do cost a fortune. Especially things such as the 3-in-1 docks that Apple sells. Okay, so that's some pretty good news. This next leak brings some bad news, and that's regarding the A17 chip, which is getting some downgrades. So apparently there's gonna be 2 versions of the Apple A17 chip. And by 2 versions, I don't mean the version that's gonna be inside the standard iPhone 15 model and the version that's gonna be inside the 15 Pro, as the standard 15 would simply just come with the A16. What I'm referring to is literally 2 very different versions of the A17 chip. So the first version is said to be made on a 3nm manufacturing process, using TSMC's N3B process. That's a custom process that TSMC made specifically for Apple. Smartphone manufacturers like Samsung, Google, and so on, they just cannot get the N3B as that's reserved for Apple. Now, of course, that TSMC does still want to make 3nm chips for all of their other partners too. So for this, they have another manufacturing process called the N3E. But they're not quite the same. You see, the N3E is said to be inferior to the N3B in terms of the density of the transistors, and it also has fewer EUV layers, and it's just more power hungry than the N3B process, the one that's specifically made for Apple. So the problem here, and most of you have probably guessed it by now, is that apparently some A17 chips will be made using the N3B process, whilst others will be made using the N3E process. This is due to the N3E process being able to be manufactured at a larger scale, which means that some A17 chips will perform worse than others. The good news is that the A17 chips manufactured on the N3E process won't be manufactured until 2024. And I don't believe that Apple would randomly start selling worse versions of the iPhone 15 Pros without telling their customers. At least I sure hope so. So I believe that this inferior A17 would actually be included in the base iPhone 16 models from next year. Now, there is one advantage to the N3E process too, which is the fact that it is compatible with TSMC's upcoming processes like the N3P, the N3X, the N3S, and so on. So what this means is that future processes will actually be based on the N3E rather than the N3B. So when Apple starts using the more advanced N3P process, for example, likely with the iPhone 16 Pros next year, they can simply use the N3E A17 design and improve on it. That simply just isn't possible with the N3B, as a full redesign from scratch would be needed. In English, the iPhone 16 will suffer so that the iPhone 16 Pro can be an even bigger improvement performance-wise. Okay, now at the beginning of the video, I briefly told you about how unique the Shokz open-fit earphones really are. And here's why you might like them. The Shokz open fits are awesome performing earphones with incredibly deep bass and super useful features. What's really interesting is their direct pitch technology, which directs sound waves into your ear canal for a clearer sound and reduced sound leakage, whilst still keeping you involved in your surroundings. Check out the Shokz OpenFit earphones by using the link below. Okay, the next piece of update comes from Ming-Chi Kuo, who reports on Apple updating the UWB chip inside the iPhone 15. Now, in case you don't know what this is, the UWB chip, that one stands for Ultra Wideband, and this is a chip that allows you to locate your iPhone in 3D space much more accurately than just by using Bluetooth. Apple introduced this with the iPhone 11, and they called it the U1 chip. And all iPhone models since have had it. Initially, there seemed to be no real use to the U1. However, once the AirTag got introduced in April of 2021, so around 6 months after the introduction of the iPhone 12, that's when the U1 started being useful, as you could very accurately locate the AirTag, if you had an iPhone 11 or newer, down to the centimeter, as the AirTag itself also had a U1 chip. Ming-Chi Kuo was saying that this new U1 chip, possibly even called the M2, would now be manufactured on a smaller 7nm process, and would improve close-range interaction as well as reduce power consumption. And apparently the main reason for Apple doing this is for the iPhone to work better with the Vision Pro, which means that we could likely see some sort of close interaction between the iPhone and the Vision Pro that Apple simply hasn't announced yet. Another new update, also from Ming-Chi Kuo, is that apparently Apple's looking to upgrade the iPhone 16s, so next year's iPhones, to Wi-Fi 7, which means that this year, with the iPhone 15s, we could see an upgrade from Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 6E, something that we also got on the new 2023 MacBook Pros. The iPhone 14s come with Wi-Fi 6 right now, and Wi-Fi 6E is actually a pretty big upgrade, unlike the name would suggest, as it actually supports the new 6 GHz Wi-Fi band. So if you have a Wi-Fi 6E router, you can get speeds of up to 2.4 gigabits per second, up from 1.2, so yeah, double the speeds. However, Wi-Fi 7, that's where the big upgrade is, as the theoretical speeds are as high as 5.8 gigabits per second. But like Ming-Chi Kuo said, this may only be coming next year with the iPhone 16s. Okay, next up, there have been a couple of leaked iPhone 15 cases that show us some of the smaller design changes. These blue ones right here were posted by well-known Weibo leaker Uncle Pan, and they show the difference when compared to the iPhone 14 Pro. As you can see, the volume buttons are being lowered, while the mute switch cutout is getting significantly smaller now, as this will now be replaced by that customizable action button. Interesting enough, there is an orange line on the button here. Of course, these buttons are from the case itself, but it could be that this action button might actually have a different color entirely, like on the Apple Watch Ultra. If we take a look at the bottom of the case, we can see that a cutout for the charging ports is a bit larger now, to accommodate the new USB Type-C port. And if we take a look at the right, we can also see that the power button is a tiny bit lower, as well as a bit thinner. Twitter leaker MyJinBoo has also shared a video of an iPhone 15 Pro Max case, this one being from a different manufacturer, with no case buttons, but rather some large cutouts, likely to keep the case as thin as possible. We have actually showed all of these physical differences and changes in our video on the iPhone 15 dummy unit, so do make sure to check that video out after watching this, if you want to learn more about every single design difference. Also, remember that titanium frame that the iPhone 15 Pros were said to be getting? Well, Patently Apple, the website that usually shares Apple patents, reports that according to supply chain sources, the iPhone 15 Pros will indeed be replacing the stainless steel frame with a titanium one. Of course, the main advantage here being the weight reduction and the fact that titanium is also stronger than stainless steel. So in case you do drop your iPhone, the chance of the frame getting nicked would be smaller now. Plus, we've had a stainless steel frame on iPhones ever since the iPhone X from 2017. So yeah, I do think it's time for something fresh. And lastly, we might not actually see that red color that was previously rumored and that we were all hoping for. According to leaker UnknownZ21, there are no red iPhones planned for 2023. And that means that it also includes the standard iPhone 15. So yeah, there will definitely be a new color on the iPhone 15 Pro for sure. We just don't know what that new color would be. So feel free to leave your color requests in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more iPhone 15 updates and Apple news. I'm Daniel, this means ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.